It's July 10, 2001. I'm talking to Naomi Weisstein. Hello? 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 Hello?
He may flag. This might turn out to be something that has to be done in maybe 2 calls, but we'll see.
Okay.
And not at all to interfere, but Naomi's asked me to stay on the extension to help prompt her memory.
That's fine.
So I'll be here.
Okay.
And before I go on, the only other thing that's on my mind is a dissertation and in American Studies.
Right.
And who are you working with?
What? Oh, I'm working with the department chair, Jeff Meikle.
Uh-huh. Is Bill Stott still there?
Bill Stott's on my committee, although he's actually retired. He's still on my committee.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, there's some ways in which his documentary expression, 30s America, is kind of relevant for this as background. Might be worth looking at or talking to him about. Anyway, why don't I put Naomi on and we'll start. And as I say, I'll be here in the background, kind of chiming in.
Okay.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Naomi. Hi. Thank you once again. I wrote it, but I wanted to tell you. Before I begin, I should ask each of you, since you're both in the line, can I tape this call?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Well then, I'm not sure. Do you have any questions before we begin? Since I've been the one doing all the talking, or do you just want me to launch into?
I'm going to say just 2 or 3 words about what the dissertation is about, so we have some context in which to answer.
Sure. I wanted to take a look at. Initially, I wanted to take a look at present-day efforts to produce vernacular musics of all type. I'm using vernacular in a very broad sense, and to me that means any type of small group music, whether it be, I just got off the phone with a long conversation with a Cajun musician, whether it be, a racial group, an ethnic group, or a political interest group. I am also want to look at present day, and I've been saying present a few times, which may make you wonder why I'm speaking to you, but present day uses of the term folk that get bandied about when you talk about vernacular music, a term that bothers me somewhat. And so I wanted to look at the current meaning of that term in popular conception. I approached Rounder because they were a label that came after the great folk boom and are still very vibrant. And it somewhat evolved over time into a project that looked in part, and only in part, at Rounder's history to kind of look at the past and see how they ended up in a certain place today.
Well, that's fascinating. I think both Naomi and I would have a lot to say about that. But why don't you focus, Naomi, on questions you want to hear?
Sure.
And maybe we'll try and relate them to the context of what you're doing.
Right. And one of the things, in talking about the Mountain Moving Day project specifically, one of the things that does interest me is something that I've mentioned in emails, which is that Rounder, I don't believe personally would release that record today because they've gone through.
Well, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think that it was easy in 71 to approach our groups because we were the only groups around.
Right.
And you could focus. Okay, okay, they're doing, and you know, they're pretty articulate about what they're doing. They're doing political rock.
Right.
And they all came from different kinds of what I would say was folk music traditions in those days.
They did, yeah?
Yeah. Except for a couple of them. I mean, one or two.
Well, there were three of them. There were three. You would have dealt really just with three people back in 73, 74.
Yeah, yeah. Marion,
right.
and who?
Marion Layton.
And who?
Marion and Ken, you said?
Marion Layton.
Marion Layton.
Yeah, Marion Layton, Ken Irwin, and
Bill Nowlin.
who was the third?
Bill Nowlin.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right.
So, no, I mean, we came from folk.
I see. Okay.
But we didn't want to be folk.
Mm-hmm.
For the main reason we didn't want to be folk. Well, okay, two reasons. The first is that we liked rock and roll so much, and it was so much more powerful
and
energetic, and drive, power, and energy.
Yeah.
We used to say. And the other reason was that folk at that time was so gendered.
Mm-hmm.
And the gender, you know, I told you on the phone that in the email that I was listening to Washington Square.
Right.
That Rhino compilation.
Yeah, I know the box.
And the women were all singing, you know, mournful songs.
Mm-hmm.
Just about, they dug their own graves. They were singing their one last beautiful song. And then they were going to lay in the grave with their arms folded.
Right.
And it was so, you know, and I mean, to be a folkie of that kind, and I mean no insult to Joan Baez, who, you know, had a magnificent voice.
Right.
You know, was a real hero in a lot of ways. But to be that kind of folkie, you had to be, quote, lovely.
Right. Okay.
In a certain way that we wanted to really break out of. And I think in some ways that rock and roll piece that I wrote with Blaisdell was for the Miz. You know,
yeah, I know. I wrote the piece.
Good. That we were a little bit insulting. We didn't want to be. But, you know, we wanted to say, no, let's not do that anymore. No sad songs by the river.
Right.
You know, we're going into the studio. So that was how we approached our band.
Right.
And
but you personally did come very much out of a background that was at home with what Rhino was calling Washington Square music.
oh yeah, I used to go down there all the time.
Did you actually go down and play in the square or listen to the music?
Right.
But you listened?
I listened.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have played, but of course I wasn't lovely enough.
Okay.
I was scared to. But as you know, one of the things I gave to the Days of Celebration and Resistance, I was trained both as a musician and also I had a lot of theater experience.
Right.
So I could have played. Anyway, yeah, I would go down there all the time unless my parents were, you know, grounding me.
Right.
And,
but it's all, I think you've also, what you're saying again, that world, and I think around the Washington Square Fountain was a very gendered place, and there were guys with guitars, and there were girls looking adoringly.
Right.
Yeah, mainly, except for one or two, you know, women who broke through.
It's
you know, like Joan.
right. It's interesting what you're saying to me, though, because when I was reading one of the various pieces you sent me, and I think I've got the language here, I was thinking to myself, that what she is writing here is describing a process that people associate with rock music, with folk music, but they're doing it in a rock milieu. And I guess I'm looking at what I think is the language I was focusing on before. We have to change the total experience of rock performance. We have to involve our audiences and as equals, include rather than insult them, respect rather than degrade them, play for them rather than at them. That's a very folk ethos.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It shows, one of the things on the Rhino record is Pete Seeger trying to sing If I Had a Hammer, but he can't get himself to sing because he's not sure that everybody in the audience knows the words yet. So all he does is he bellows out the words, and then it's time for the next one.
Right.
And, he's so much like, you think to yourself, he wants to organize this whole audience into being musicians.
Right.
And he always did that, and I remember that very clearly at the hootenannies I went to, and I even had a sort of a funny little lick I did about Pete Seeger. I'd say, now I want all of you people on the ceiling to start singing with me. Like the audience was every place, and he was going to organize them. And yes, that's one of the things that we wanted to do, and that's really acute of you. That's really perceptive of you to understand, and that was the folk music ethos.
Yeah.
It should also be added, Michael, that the passage you picked out was intended as a response to Mick Jagger and others.
Sure.
It was written as really an attack on the assaultiveness of the dominant male rock forms of the time.
Oh, and I thought it was there, but somewhere else you refer to the fascist experience of the rock concert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, it was, sort of political all the way through, in the sense of our being very, very conscious of what we were doing. And it's interesting, I'm remastering, I'm editing the original vinyl recording for Rounders. And the Schlesinger Library, where I've deposited my papers, we paid for like 22 CDs of tapes that I had been carrying around with me, mainly their live performances.
Oh, really?
And of course, the sound quality is, terrible. We were using these old reel-to-reel tape recorders.
Right.
But the audience is approaching riot, frenzy. And it's not, that's true of pop music in general, that you can get these frenzied audience responses. But the difference here is that the audience is telling us what to do.
Yeah.
Singing along with us and telling us what to do. Play that verse again, and play the whole thing again, and
But also, wherever you played, what you played preceded you, and people already were kind of very connected to the band and kind of knew what they wanted.
Right.
Really ecstatic.
Yeah.
Now, is the reissue going to include more than the original vinyl? Is that going to? Are you going to put any of this live material on it, for example?
Well, I'm arguing with them now.
Okay.
Because the sound quality is so bad that they don't want to put it in.
I see.
And I'm saying, come on, part of what these bands were about is the audience frenzy.
But the arguing is really just about getting in it's not music that's inaudible, it's crowd noises that you want to put back.
Yeah,
I see.
Crowd noises, especially where they say, play it again, and like we had a song. I think I really can't argue very forcefully to put it back in, but it's called VD Blues.
Mm-hmm.
I got the VD Blues. These blues, and they start yelling, VD Blues, yeah, like that.
What place do you think that reissue can have in today's world? What would it do?
Well, I'm not sure. I've talked to Jesse about this, and I think, but then I'm an incurable optimist, that it'll be much more popular this time around,
Mm-hmm.
because there's this strain of women's music. I wrote an article about this. I didn't send it to you. Didn't want to tax your reading, but a lot of mainstream women rockers are very tough in terms of their lyrics about the gender wars.
Mm-hmm.
You should just name some people who you're thinking of.
Well, Alanis Morissette,
Okay.
her first record.
Right.
Sheryl Crow, her first 2 records.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they all get a little sloppy after a while, but that's because they really don't have an audience behind them.
Yeah.
They have an audience, but they don't know it, and the record companies kind of suck them up, and then, so they become. But those 2 records, then there's Ani DeFranco.
Right.
But even Spice Girls, when they were, their short-lived tour, used to sing lyrics like, if you can't dance, get off the floor,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I think, a direct borrowing from, I don't know if they know that, H-rap that, you can't dance, Jim, get off the floor. And who else was I thinking of? Then there's hip-hop, black hip-hoppers,
Mm-hmm.
Queen Latifah,
Mm-hmm.
and Salt and Pepper.
So I
Salt and Pepper.
think what you're saying is that though politically the height of the movement was receptive to the record in certain ways, that now 30 years later you have reason to think that there's a mood established by these people that will make people receptive to the reissued record.
Yeah, I think so. I think that what we did then seeped into the culture, and audiences will be much more receptive these days to the reissue.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think? I had when I've talked to Ken about gender, and I put this in an email to you. He frequently says the same thing. It's really a point of pride with him, and that's to the effect that he's because he's very into bluegrass and has released. I think he's probably released hundreds of bluegrass records, and he says nobody has released the number of bluegrass albums with women band leaders like Rounder, and he's that is a real point of pride with him. He considers it a significant political act. What's your take on that? And these are mainstream records for the most part. There's nothing politically conscious about the lyrics. If there's anything political about them, it says Ken is claiming politics. They've got female band leaders in an era where there was none or few.
Yeah. Who did you? I'm sorry.
Ken Irwin.
You talked to Ken about this.
Yes.
Well, I think it is a point of pride.
Okay.
I think that Alison Krauss, for instance, is doing wonderful things, and to have women, be fronting the band is just amazing to me. I mean, the reaches of country, it's sort of like Lovely all over again,
Yeah.
And the fact that to getting women in there is, I mean, it's half the battle. It's not the whole thing. And I wish the lyrics, would take off.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, Leanne Womack sometimes does that. Sometimes she gets a little whatchamacallit, snippy, and snippy in terms of her male, her boyfriend. Now I forget. There was this one lyric I'm thinking of, but I don't remember it. So it's for country, that's really something. Because just like the folk music, Washington Square has such a heavy gender thing on it. Well, country music has too. I mean, I wish they could do more, but
My sense is that when the Chicago Women's Liberation Rock Band performed, I mean, the very name suggests that it would perform with a political context for the performance already established. And that's an environment in which certainly the politics are going to come through, and the audience is going to play off the politics and give back, their own political empowerment. But if a woman-led band is playing in a context that is pretty much devoid of explicit politics or neutral, does it matter as much if they're a women-led band? Is it harder for the politics of their presence to mean anything to anybody?
I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. The thing about politics, and Jesse can talk. Jesse's a New Left historian. You know of Jesse, right?
I know. I've actually read some of your missives. In fact, only recently on the American Studies mailing list.
Oh yeah.
I've seen you on there.
What's most relevant to this discussion, and I can send you the references to it if you don't have it, is in '86 I published an article in The Nation, which they published under the title "I Dreamed I Saw MTV Last Night," which was a critique of left folk and also of left documentary, Union Maids, and a couple of others. In terms of the quest for authenticity in cultures other than those of the people who are singing it.
Okay.
That is to say, people living in the suburbs singing little boxes.
Right.
So it was taken to be a critique of Seeger, and I guess in some ways it was, but it also took off from a hideous performance or so that I heard by Cy Khan, and there was so much controversy over this because the nation's readership was so angry at my criticizing this kind of what did I call it? Kind of blue overalls notion that to be authentic we have to be somebody else, working class, and that. Cy Khan even had a song about the experience of the death camps, which he sung in the Appalachian style, as if to say this is going to make it be about real people. Anyway, that produced so much controversy and anger that there was I had a second article called "The Politics of Left Culture," which carried on the discussion, and I can email it.
Yeah, I would like those references if you can remember.
But the relevance of that here is that I was writing in the mid-'80s and looking at that time for examples. I mean, basically what I was saying is the old agitprop is not what we want in the era of rock, and I was able to think of some instances.
You said it's not what we want, or is now what we want?
Is not what
we want. Okay.
I I was able to think of some instances in visual art and film where people were breaking with that old stuff. I mentioned a film by Jill Godmello called Far From Poland. I mentioned the work of Josh Brown on the American Social History Project, very imaginative stuff. Anyway, Naomi and I have been talking a little bit about, in anticipation of this conversation, and I realized that, of course, I should have cited the Chicago Women's Liberation Rock Band, and the only reason I didn't was this was 1986 and the band was gone by then.
Right.
But what the band did was to say, we want to speak in the languages that are around now. We hate assaultive male rock, but we love rock. And we think the time is over when women would get across a feminist message by the latest updating of the old kind of popular front agitprop forms. And that's why I mentioned Bill Stott, who might not necessarily agree with this, but in a way what Naomi's band was rebelling against was partly that complex, that the left, all the definitions that the left had accepted about its authenticity and how it should present itself. Not that we don't love Seeger, not that we don't love even the Weavers, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Anyway,
but there was another, I thought you were going to talk about another thing, but you didn't, so I will, which is that, Mike, of course I agree with you that if you don't have consciousness there, if you don't have a completely deliberate, articulated sort of program,
Right.
Nobody's going to pick it up, I mean, it's good that women are in bluegrass now, but it just sort of gets enfolded into the same old, male supremacist structures, one way or the other. You got to have words, you got to have consciousness. And one of the things that I had found so exciting about what we were doing was to try to have consciousness without going back into the old agitprop, socialist realism kind of thing. I mean, I wanted us to have consciousness and deliberate feminist lyrics that were not, we're going to smash patriarchy, you motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, when the record comes out, I surely want to send it to you. And as a matter of fact, I would like to send you, this will take a little bit because I keep asking Schlesinger to copy things for me, and one of these days they're going to get tired of me. But, I will send you those live performances that, we're singing this wonderful stuff. And as I say, the audience, all over us, but in no case is it just socialist realism. And it's, I think one of the things that stopped it from being socialist realism in our case is that we were very funny. We were really very funny. And even did monologues between our singing, which is going to be on the remastered thing. I want to, I don't want to make any invidious comparisons to the New Haven band, but I'll make them. I think that their lyrics tended more towards the old kind of agitprop, like the abortion song that I tried to peddle recently. It was a New Haven song. I tried to peddle recently because we had a rally for abortion again. That I was part of planning of it. The song goes, "You're talking about abortion. It's our natural right. Free our sisters cancer is abortion is our right. Oh, please, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody goes to sleep.
Right.
You know, thumbs out on ecstasy. Anyway, so nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to pick it up and put it in the program because it was just too clunky.
Right.
And, you know, we kept saying we have to avoid clunkiness. We have to, you know, sing from the heart. Because we're feminists, we're singing from a feminist heart.
That's the problem that you've just articulated. What I think is the problem with the recent broadside set, which you guys might have heard as well. Well, I don't know if do you know about the Smithsonian Folkways collection of songs recorded for Broadside magazine?
No.
Okay.
No.
Are you familiar with Broadside?
This isn't the Harry Smith stuff.
No. Broadside was for most of its life was a mimeograph sheet that was published in Manhattan by two folks who came out of the political theater from the Midwest in the 30s and 40s. Sis Cunningham is in her 90s now. She's still alive. Her husband died a few years ago, and they. At Pete Seeger and Malvina Reynolds' urgings, they started a political song magazine in 1962. They were the first. It was the first place where anyone actually published lyrics of Bob Dylan and Phil Oakes. But it went on till, 88, I believe. Really through some lean years, as you might imagine. But they kept putting it out at least a few times a year, and. Some of the songs, while some of them were great, particularly in the 60s, some of them were really like abysmally didactic stuff. And they put out records as well. They did people coming in and they do these very lo-fi, low-budget recording projects, which Mo Ash would put out on Folkways Records. And so the Smithsonian just recently released a 5-disc box set of those recordings. And you know, it's an interesting document, but one of the most humorous and yet accurate reviews I read of it said, as a record, this is a great book. It's a wonderful document of a social time and a place. You wouldn't exactly put it on to kick back with some music.
Michael, have you heard Naomi's band playing Don't Fuck Around with Love?
I have heard 2 cuts off the record, and I don't know what they are. When I was at Rounder a year and a half ago, I spent one afternoon, and it was like trying to get a flavor of everything you can't find. That interested me.
The reason I bring that up is because this is from another world, what Naomi says about comedy.
Okay.
Here's a point with some theoretical weight in feminist debates about love, and they translated into wonderful comedy, which had the audience all with them.
Right.
And it was this, Naomi, you just say a word about
what? Yeah. Well, it had a doo-wop background, and I was the singer, and I have no voice. Mm-hmm. Even 20 years ago, when I was, you know, when I wasn't bedridden for 20 years, I had no voice. Mm-hmm. So it was wonderful. It was like Roseanne singing the Star Spangled Banner. And I was going, love is wonderful. Love is peace. Love moves mountains. Love cuts the grease. You know, and on like that. And meanwhile, the singers and my band really did have good voices, you know, and they go, wow, yeah, and it was just wonderful at the end. The punchline is, of course, I Don't Fuck Around with Love, delivered as a Mick Jagger take, right? And I'd start stomping my heels, running around the stage. No, fuck around with love. So that was great. And the day that somebody came up to me and said, you know, there's a lot of truth in that song. was the day I knew that the rock band had outlived it.
Let me ask you, how did you hook up with Rounder? How did you come there? I want to try and plug this into the context of the label. And how did you connect with them?
Well, Kit McClure, who was the trombonist in the New Haven band, knew them.
Okay.
And New Haven played a lot of gigs in Boston.
I see.
So Ken, I think it was Ken, or maybe Ken and Marion, asked her if they wanted to do a recording. They said, oh, we couldn't do it without Chicago. They said, oh, yeah, that's great. That's why we asked you, or something like that. But anyway, so that's how we hooked up.
Okay, and they didn't, I'm thinking about the time they didn't, I take it, attempt to exercise any great involvement in the recording itself, did they? Or?
No.
Okay.
They left us completely alone.
All right.
To do what we wanted to.
Now, did you know? Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
They were on such a shoestring in those days. Remember, Kit drove out to the studios which were in Framingham, and it was snowing, and they didn't have any brakes. And every time they got to a toll booth, they had to stick their feet out of the car. So they were really, but no, they had no, they exerted no kind of production values or anything like that. We had an engineer. New Haven insisted on having a woman engineer, but we had another engineer who sort of knew all about us. I.e., how come you girls are all lesbians, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he was really an oinker.
Yeah.
But other than that, they just told us to get in the studio and do what we could, which was, the most frightening experience I've ever had. And one of the reasons that I'm so keen to edit some of these takes that we made was because we froze up completely when we got in the studio.
Okay.
We thought, easy, we just go in and improvise the way we do on a performance, right?
Right.
But we didn't have any audience, and, we had the sort of cold steel of the studio surrounding us.
Well, and that awareness that it's also going to live forever, beyond the moment.
Yeah. The tablets.
Uh-huh.
Putting them in the tablet.
Did the two bands come in together, or did you separate your sessions?
Oh, we separated our sessions, but we were there together for moral support.
I see, you were all there. Okay.
Yeah.
Did Rounder finance this thing, or tell you that they'd put it out, you go make it?
No, they financed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What did you know about them, or did you care? I don't know that you did.
No, we didn't care.
Okay.
I mean, we knew they were sort of, the successor to Alan Lomax.
Okay.
And I knew about Alan Lomax.
Right.
Very few others did.
I see.
I thought, hey, Alan Lomax. As you say, we were getting them in the tablets, and I thought it was wonderful. But mainly we didn't care.
Okay. What did the record do for you? I touched on these in my first email, I think, to you, or early on. I mean,
yeah.
What did the artifact do? That tangible thing that you could bring around with you.
Yeah, well, it was. One of the things that still surprises me, or did when I was, walking around, was that people would come up and say, "I still have your record," or "My daughter listens to it."
Uh-huh.
Or
more, when are you saying?
Well, people on the email, or
at what time in history?
now,
Yeah.
or 10 years ago, or something like that. And when Joanne Donovan, who's part of this Leicester group, she went to the Women's Studies Association meeting just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, and there was a lot of the people in the audience had the vinyl,
Uh-huh.
and they were so happy, she said, to listen to Joanne saying that we're gonna redo it and we're gonna rescue you some of the live tapes, and they were all clapping, and it was almost like an audience again. And or I read someplace Elaine Rapping said that her daughter had the record, and like that. I mean, a lot of people had it. It was, it got around.
But you'd also said that a lot of people ripped it off by making tapes from the...
Oh, yeah, nobody bought it. What?
Not nobody bought it, but many, many people.
Yeah, 10 people bought it, and the rest ripped it off from them.
I guess that's almost a funny kind. Well, I found this in talking about early rounder records at all. Did you ever get things like royalty statements, let alone royalties? Royalty statements or royalties?
Actually, we got some royalties. We got around $125.
Uh-huh.
And we still get royalties, and now they're pissed off at us. They were for a little while. They were charging me, storage fees.
Oh, good God.
For, the master. And then all of a sudden they turned themselves around and said, hey, it's our 30th anniversary. We want to remaster this.
Right.
So, yeah, we got some royalties, but as I say, it wasn't, steal this record.
Right.
What you said to me is that the impact of the record isn't to be measured by sales figures because there was so much ripping off.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially among feminists just circulating it
Yeah.
by a cassette.
Yeah.
Were you, and I don't know that you'd be aware of this, but maybe it would, my question is, to the extent you were aware, were you perceived differently by audiences once you had a record?
That's also a really perceptive question. I understand that you really have done a lot of work about this. So thank you. There was such a heavy sort of press demand not to be a star.
Yes.
In those days, that the record did us no good.
Mm-hmm.
In certain ways, in terms of, there are those stars, and they're not really part of our movement, and, when did you see them at the last demo? And, I mean, it was just slander. I mean, we used to set up in the middle of a demonstration. I had an interview with VH1 a year ago or the year before, and I got out my pictures of women sort of pretending to be Fruit of Islam, trying to protect us from the beer-drinking guys in the back room. We had just set up at the Chicago Civic Center because of a demonstration to rally or something, and we started playing, and they didn't, the guys didn't like us, and the women said we got to protect them, and they're these wonderful pictures. I mean, well, anyway. It was mixed.
Yeah.
Let me interject. Naomi, I'm beginning to get worried about your strength, and I don't want to suppress this in any way, but just wondering whether you want to think of another call or...
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Or maybe I could pick up a few things.
Okay, whatever.
Really, we don't want to cut this off. It's just that Naomi's experience with this illness has been that she puts out a lot of energy and then is really punished for it because it really knocks her out.
And I understood that coming in. I want you to know that as we corresponded.
Well, maybe, Naomi, I'll say one or two things after you get over. Is there one or two things you want to add?
Well, I talked to Kathleen Hanna the other day, and, she was sort of the founder of Riot Girl, and her band Bikini Kill was, very popular in the Northwest for a while. I asked her why it folded, and the story was just the same story that I'd written in the Snittow and Duplessis collection. There was all these internal stuff about don't be a star and you're the leader, don't do it anymore, and I mean, I think that the impulse, as I said in Sit Down, Do Pussy, is utopian.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want us to get rid of that impulse. I mean, part of asking the audience to join us is the utopian impulse. But we really have to figure it out a whole lot better than we have. Because people...
You mean managing conflict and expertise?
Yeah, managing...
Right.
Yeah, and stars.
Well, I think that's very important because that's another way, and it's occurring to me as you speak, in which you're very like the broader folk movement. I mean, your compatriots in political movements would get irritated with you as you seem to separate yourself from them, at least in their eyes, through this record and standing in front of them on a stage and getting some attention. And it happens in that same folk community we said that you want in other contexts. There's the Washington Square movement.
Absolutely, like Dylan, right?
It happened to Hazel Dickens when she, and that's what I'm thinking about, because there's a great story I got when I talked to Hazel, and it's written somewhere, but I can't remember where now. When she made her first rounder record with Alice Gerard, it was lionized by the folkies in their various folk clubs all around, and she appeared before one club and her appearance pulled a lot of people who did not normally attend the club meetings, and those people were sitting on the front of the stage and trying to elbow their way into better position, and they wanted to see Hazel, and the club members were incensed at everybody, at Hazel, at the interlopers, and yet the purpose of the record, at least in part, was to get hurt by other people.
Yeah, I know it. It's really it's so irrational.